Hey, this is Jochen Römling from Beauty in Frames again, and today I'm gonna show you some beautiful frames. Alright, I hope you made yourself comfortable, because first we will look at a slideshow, about 2 minutes, with images from 2014, and afterwards we go back to the computer and I will show you how the images were processed. Enjoy! Alright, as promised, I lose a few words about each picture, so let's go into Lightroom. The first picture was taken from a train. The train came to a halt in the middle of nowhere in the early morning. You can see there's a haze or so. What is a bit special about this is that when you look at it before, it looks actually quite boring. It is very flat. There's no color in the sky and, well, there's a lot to optimize. So with a few tricks and a few sliders in Lightroom, it looks actually quite compelling, doesn't it? The second image was taken in the southern islands of Gothenburg. What is important here is that you have your horizon straight, even if it's very difficult to see in this picture, and that you have some kind of foreground elements and some leading lines that lead the eye around the picture. When shooting sunsets, it's often necessary to use more than one picture and combine them later in the computer in order to be able to catch both the sky and the foreground. Let me show you what I mean. So I took a very dark picture that is exposing for the sky, so you can see the details in the sky. And I took a very light picture where the sky is totally blown out, but you can see details in the foreground. And combined, it looks like this, which is a little bit on the blue, strange color side. So I decided to mute it down and apply an artistic effect. So this is a simple split toning, or quad toning, what it's called. So 4 color tones are applied to the highlights, the shadows, and the midtones. This picture is actually quite simple. It's a single picture. The clouds look very surreal, but they are actually how they look like in the day. The only thing done to this image is that it's really pumped up the contrast and the clarity in order to define the details of the clouds. It's the same here. This is taken at Liseberg, the big amusement park in Gothenburg. I think the sunset makes the image and the vibrant colors that almost make it look like a comic. One important thing, if you watch closely this image and this one, what is the difference? Again, this one, after and before, you can see the house is falling in and it's corrected here. So it's very important that you get your vertical lines straight, because the eye expects that vertical lines are straight. It makes a big difference in the perception. This image looks quite a little bit amateur, and this looks much more professional because the lines are straight. When photographing rain, it is important to use settings allowing that everything is in focus, so that you can see both the background and the raindrops that are in front. Plus, you need to have a slower shutter speed, like in this case 1/60th of a second, so that you can actually see the strikes of the raindrops here. You see, each raindrop makes a strike instead of blurring it all out. This is a very simple image. It was just a snapshot taken at the side of the road. I will show you later how to make this kind of border. It's very easy. This image was just taken in front of my house. Just a flower. There you can see, if you go down on the level of the flower, focus on the center and pump up the colors in Photoshop or in Lightroom, it makes a very compelling image. This image was taken on a photo walk. There's a region in north of Gothenburg where kind of every house has an old car in the backyard. I don't know what they are doing with them. Maybe somebody's listening and can explain it to me. But I took this image because my dad had a car like this when I was a kid, and they painted some stuff on it. I don't know why. I made it black and white because the color was kind of boring. That's always a good rule. If the color is boring or the color is destroyed by some colorful lights, for example on a concert, if you have blue or pink lights on the singers or dancers, it's a good idea to use the black and white. This is an exercise in seeing the image. It was a skyscraper in Linz in Austria that made some interesting lines and shapes. This image demonstrates how easy it is to create a professional looking picture. It's important to use the right white balance so that the plate is really white and not yellow, and to focus on the right thing and to go down on the level. This was quite a funny scene. This is kind of a street portrait. I was in a park in Paris near the Eiffel Tower, and there came a dancer and a photographer, and they did some photo shoot, so I sneaked behind and took some pictures of myself. Since it was a very bright day, it was easy to freeze the motion with a high shutter speed and make her stay in the air. This is a panorama taken at the city of Västerås, my new hometown. You can see all the landmarks. This is a tower that's ABB, and it is besides the art museum. This is the city hall. You have the skyscraper. You have Bombardier, which is also a big industrial complex, Bombardier and ABB. And you have even the church. It was taken in a series of 3 images, 1, 2, and 3, and combined in Photoshop. You see those images look quite dull and flat, but with a little processing and black and white and a border around, I think it looks quite nice, doesn't it? This is a long exposure and a combination of 3 different images. If you put your camera on a tripod and you press the shutter for, in this case, 5 seconds, it takes the train 5 seconds to drive from here to here, or from here to here. And I needed to combine several images because, for example, in this one, the train was from the backside, so I had the red strikes. In these images there was no train, but the lights on the street were quite nice. And in this image I had the train from the front, but there was too much, so I had to take away, for example, this strike, and I only used this one. So combined, you get this image. And I even gave it a little toning because the colors were quite dull, and I wanted it to look more interesting. This is our city hall, and here again, if you compare the after and the before, the lines were not straight, because if you use a wide angle lens and point it upwards, all the vertical lines will bend inwards. So making the lines straight in post-processing, pulling up the shadows a little bit so that the exposure of the front of the building matches the sky a bit better, it really makes a better picture. This was a snapshot in Paris, where a balloon happened to fly over here. It has a tether, so I think it is actually always there. And you have the Eiffel Tower. What is important here is that you have the right white balance to make the blue of the water and the sky really blue and really pop out, and to increase the contrasts and the clarity so that all the lines and all the colors really stick out. It's the same here, using a lot of contrast and clarity in order to make a crisp image. This is a sunset image, and sunset images always impress people, but it's actually quite easy. I will show you in some subsequent video. The secret is to know exactly when the sunset will occur, but of course there's an app on the telephone that will tell you exactly at what time you have to be out. And the sky like this will only be there for 10 minutes or so, and it is constantly changing. So what you have to do is that you either have to point your camera on a tripod, or you have to be in the same spot waiting and watching the sky, observing what will happen, and take the picture in the right moment. And this is a single image. I just pulled up the shadows a little bit so that you can see actually the front of the building. When you shoot RAW instead of JPEG, the image will have so much information that you can easily pull out the shadows, and it's not a problem. This was quite a lucky shot. I was at the right time, at the right place with the camera. You always have to take your camera with me, even if it's only a very small one, like for example this. This is not a good lens for a small camera, but still, there are good cameras that are very, very small that you can put in your pocket at all times, and otherwise you will regret. So of course the colors of this image have been enhanced, but this sky was actually really red and yellow, and it was just a beautiful scene with the opera here on the left side, and then you see all the boats. The last image is a fireworks shot from Liseberg, from the amusement park again. Fireworks is actually quite easy to shoot. You have to have a tripod, and then you put the camera on the tripod in a stable position, and you hold down the shutter release button so that it will capture a streak of light over a longer time. It's actually the same principle as it is with these light streaks here from the train. In this case we had 5 seconds to create a streak, and in the fireworks we had 3.2 seconds to create those streaks in the air. So that was it. This was just a few random pictures from 2014. I will create some subsequent videos showing you all the tricks and the behind the scenes, how those images were created. This was Jochen Römling from Beauty and Frames. See you soon.